You come here, I tell you, I am a tech nerd and it was kind of hard not to get up and kind of mess with that. But, so you have a tech director opening, and a lot of times what we find is it's a good time to evaluate, what's the best way to move forward. And
We're getting closer.
we just did network services for different school districts, but what we found really quickly as we grew was that a lot of school districts have very similar challenges, right? Everybody has to run their network, everybody has to make their Google Apps work, or Office 365, whatever it is, but 80–85% of those things are pretty similar across districts, and then everybody has their individual applications and culture and ways they like to implement things. So what we did is we came up with a system called Albert. I believe you've seen the proposal, and we'll talk through a little bit about what that is, but our goal is really to provide comprehensive service, do the heavy lifting so that on-site you can be focused on the classroom and using technology, not sorting through kind of challenges as it were. So really quickly, a little background, we're about 13 years old. As I mentioned, I was a former tech director, so we were born out of truly K-12. We have really quite a few customers across the country, more than 100 school districts, and I think that just passed 500 buildings that we manage school technology in across the country. Lots and lots of devices we manage. Over 200,000 devices on a daily basis are connecting to the networks that we manage. So we see the problems, the good, the bad, and know how to react quickly. Quick map. The point of this map is we're based out of Kansas City, which is actually pretty close to you. We can be here in a quick drive, but Naples, Florida, Teton, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, one of our clients, and we manage all of those directly from our office in Kansas City. So remote work, and then have great partnerships with district personnel that we leverage. So I mentioned Albert, and Albert is really what we've put together as a comprehensive system to manage technology. So rather than a bunch of different administrative systems, we've packaged that into one so that all of the heavy lifting that it takes to manage your technology on a regular basis is all built in. And it's done by a team of experts. You may have seen on the slide, we have over 65 staff members now, so you're not relying on one person. And especially in the last several years, turnover in tech has been frequent, and I think you guys have had some stability over time, but what we're seeing is new people in, they're moving around maybe a year or two or three, and sometimes it's hard to find them. If you do find somebody, then it's really hard for them to be an expert in everything, right? It's just tough. So we leverage that, and we've built this platform to do so. So you've had the proposal a chance to look at, but wanted to go over kind of what we're talking about here. So what we typically do is everything that can be done remotely, behind the scenes, whether it's cybersecurity or network infrastructure, we can do it all out of our office. And then we work to partner with somebody in district. In this case, it would be your tech coordinator to go down to classroom, plug in something, or check to see if the projector or TV is working, stuff like that. But most of what we do, and in fact, in a lot of cases, up to 92% of tickets that come into us can be solved remotely. So our staff are on our help desk are available from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. at night. So extended hours over personnel, you can call us, you can open a web browser and chat with us, send in a ticket online to engage support. And once that process happens, we'll remote in, we'll be evaluating what the issue is, and a lot of times we can do that completely remotely. Software we can manage remotely, upgrades, patching, all those sorts of things. In addition, what we do is all of your network, which a lot of your servers or your main brains of your network are here on site. We put those in our 3 data centers across the country. So we have one in Denver, one in Kansas City, and one in Dallas. We don't ask our customers if you want your data backed up, right? We just do that. And in most cases, at best, the school is backing that up every 24 hours. We do that every hour and send it to another city. So when it comes to the network infrastructure running, if one city goes down, we're up and running and you can keep going. So it's better than unexpected expenses if you should have a device go down or a server go down, etc. But I think really one of the main questions on people's mind today is around cybersecurity and the mammoth challenge that is. I always like to tell school districts, you probably can walk down the hall and see a tornado drill or a tornado plan posted on a wall, a fire drill posted on the wall. But a lot of times there's not a cybersecurity drill or a cybersecurity plan on the wall. And really, it may seem like China or Russia or those countries are far away, but in the world of cyber, they're less than 100 milliseconds from your doorstep. And so it's become a real big challenge and a real big lift, and candidly, creating cost centers that most districts have not budgeted for, right? It just has not been an issue, and it's new spend as you try and solve those problems. So the reason I bring that up is everything that we do and everything in your proposal has cybersecurity built into it. Most of the changes that are happening today in the world of cybersecurity are being driven by insurance companies that are covering cyber insurance policies. We are consistently a step ahead of them, and new requirements that they have this year, all of our customers already have that in place. What's most likely coming in Kansas down the road is going to be 24/7 monitoring requirements of your environment and response. And that's tough to do with a single tech director in-house. So our services already have that. We manage and monitor networks 24/7, 365 days a year, respond to cybersecurity outages. So that can get pretty nerdy. I've got a whole slide on this, and I can talk for hours. You probably don't want to hear it. But the bottom line is in cybersecurity, it's a layered approach. So in the old days, if you're technical, there used to be a firewall, and they put that in, and that kind of saved you, or the web filter saved you. The reality is that's just not the case today, and so you have to put in many, many layers to protect yourself and respond. Most intruders are in your network 3 to 6 months before they ever strike, and the way that you capture those is to be monitoring your network and be able to respond in advance. So happy to answer questions as we go through this around cybersecurity, but it's a huge topic in the world today, and certainly a challenge. But as we've talked with the district, what we heard are several different things that are important. One is customer service related to technology. So as I mentioned, we have hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 65 staff members that are experts in different areas, Google, video streaming, particular laptops, Chromebooks, Apple products, all those sorts of things. We have different specialists in. But beyond that, from a customer service standpoint, we track all of our data. So our phone system, we have a 30-second call metric that every issue or every phone call that comes in, we answer within 30 seconds. So it's not what you may think of sitting on hold and waiting a long time. We track that. We track how long it takes for a ticket to be resolved. Every ticket, every problem, we track how long it's to be resolved. And particularly anything that we handle, we have a service level agreement. So if we don't do it in a contractual timeline, we pay you or give you a service credit on your invoice. So we track the data, how the performance is, how well we're solving those problems, top to bottom. And then if we don't meet that, we stand behind that and give you credit on your invoice. So most of the time we find internally when trying to manage tech, you're just trying to keep the lights on. And a lot of districts don't know their metrics, how quickly they're responding, how many missed calls were there, did it take a week for somebody to get down and look at something. If the kind of from a tech focus, if they don't know how to fix it, a lot of times it just gets set to the side and all of that. So we track that information and do that. Second thing we hear a lot from school districts, and certainly in working with you guys, is concern about stability and predictability, right? So making sure you have the staff that are consistent, know how to solve the problems, and go from there. And then lastly, cost is always a concern, right? So from our standpoint, when we work with districts, what we really wanted to do is provide a consistent fixed budget costs for the next several years. So our agreement is a fixed cost. Sometimes on the year one, that can be a little bit of a bump over what you may typically be paying for a tech director. But a lot of times when you factor that in and all that we have included, it's a cost savings. But that's fixed for a 5-year period. So you're hedging against particularly unpredictable inflation that is right now, cost increases with labor, software, all those sorts of things we've got built in. So very, very much a fixed, predictable system as you kind of work to manage technology. So we packaged all this up, and as I mentioned, we work with over 100 different school districts. It's all we do. We know it inside and out. And we really feel this is a new model and a new way to manage technology more effectively. It's not one aspect of what you need or what you do. It's a very comprehensive system to be able to address that. With that, that was a high-level overview. Like I said, I'm the engineer. I can nerd out if we need to, but certainly willing to answer any questions you may have, and happy to answer those.
Right. Go ahead. One thing you guys talked about, like if we were to go with you, you would want your equipment to be put in and installed for switches and different things. I don't know all those things, but since we've ordered new switches and things, you talked through this proposal that we'd be able to keep that in place. But once it went out, and if we were to go, then we would be replaced with what you guys prefer as your equipment. So can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. So we've built the proposal to leverage equipment that you have in-house. And there's nothing wrong with that or an issue that we have with that, and certainly we're happy to do so. What we always try and do, though, is optimize our technical staff that can know the depths of different technologies inside and out. So many times we do embed equipment in that so that our staff are highly trained on particular ones. But we work with just about every manufacturer and different pieces of networking equipment and know those, and certainly can. The benefit when we leverage our equipment is we have inside tracks to bypass typical support mechanisms and stuff, just because we're such a volume buyer of particular networking equipment. So as time goes on and as things age, then we would work together to put that in place moving forward.
Is that your equipment or our equipment that matches your spec?
We've done it both ways. Okay. Most of the time it's ours. So if you leverage us and embed it into the agreement, it can be covered by E-rate, both the cost of the equipment and the service that's eligible for that. So you can get some federal funds back for that, certainly. And so that's
so it locks us into you though. A little.
So we do that what we find is on a rotational basis. Most of our customers, I mean, whether it's web filter or servers or networking equipment, most of that life cycle is about 5 years. So that's typically we see refreshes coming, but we've done it both ways to answer your question.
So when COVID hit and everybody went remote, what was your kind of your worst day, and how did your service levels hold up during the COVID event?
I blacked out now.
We don't talk
Amen to that.
We actually responded pretty well.
Yeah, we were fortunate, so we were a tech company, so a lot of the remote work and all that we had in place. Prior to COVID, most of our support engagements were directly with staff members. So for us, and our size, that equates to about 11,500 staff members. In a 2-week period, we went to supporting grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, students at home, and took that number to 100,000.
So those, as a student, could reach out and, okay.
Get any family member.
Any family member as remote learning was happening. So we did that at no additional cost for a customer. Truth be told, that we took a little bit of a service hit on that, obviously, just because of volume. But,
I would have expected.
Yeah.
we met all of our service levels.
Be concerned.
All hands on deck.
Yeah. So the good part, a lot of our Albert and what we'd already built before that is there's a heavy amount of automation built into it, and a lot of pieces and components for where many districts were setting up VPNs or these connections to be able to go home and remote in and get to the technology needed. We already had that built on our infrastructure. So the ramp up was easier for us, so that helped. But just the volume of calls, how do I get connected and all that, you had prideful moments in your organization, and just having our staff that literally did whatever it took was humbling. But I think we probably took a 20% hit in terms of service levels, and then certainly what we see now is that's obviously leveled off a bunch. We went to a tier 1 level, so how do I set my password, how do I connect the internet, and we did that for 2 years. So really kind of entry level support is turned on, do you need to restart, and all that sort of stuff. And within the last about 6 to 9 months, we just eliminated tier 1 again. Because what we find is most of our staff and students know the basics of how to use technology and didn't need to kind of service the same amount of volume in that category. So we went back to tier 1 as the entry point. So now you're talking directly to a more sophisticated, knowledgeable technician from the start, and you don't kind of have to go through humps. And so certainly that is survey-wise, we send a survey with every ticket we do and evaluate that data as well. So we've seen the benefits of that too.
For the schools that you've had, do you have just kind of I guess I'd want a general sentiment or example. I've done a lot of tech revamps in my corporate world, so I'm used to these conversations. And a lot of times we'll get, I worked on the retail, so I get, well, this company used this and this helped us. So like, would another school, what would their, insight be, or are there ones that we could call to, talk to? And I don't know, you might have already done some of that, but I was just curious, what's the overall sentiment as transitioning from like a one-person tech running the show to something like this?
Yeah, great question. So certainly have plenty of references to talk to. We're a KSB prestigious partner. We're only one recommended by KSB, so certainly they would be a good reference to talk to as well. I think sometimes it's a little change in process. We're heavy in process because we want to know data. We want to know how effective things are working. We want to know and be able to report maybe technology that's aging and all that. And if you've gone through those, it's important. So I'm not sure what the history is here, but sometimes there's kind of a real lack of process and you just go down the hall and grab somebody and so for us, it's kind of an initial shift to do that. And then secondly, when we come in, we're going to remodel the house a little bit, right? So we're going to make sure you've got the upgrades in place, make sure you have those cybersecurity things in place. And that's a bit of a process just to kind of get people signed up with accounts and all that. Once that's done, what we typically find is once people know the process, they're very pleased with support. Again, the extended hours help. We'll remote in at home and work on people's stuff.
Well, right, and I would say it'll be tough for everyone in this building, but as someone who had somebody working I worked in a corporate office till COVID, somebody could just come to me, and now the person that fixed my computer was in a different country, like South America, and it was no problem. It was just it was almost easier and faster than having a human, believe it or not, but I think that's scary. But I have experienced it, and it was fine, but I just was curious. I'm assuming the same sentiments happen in the.
Well, and AI, and there's all kinds of buzzwords in tech these days, but those are certain things that we're already investigating and on the front side of automated assisting with solving technology problems and those sorts of things too, which kind of as we talked about, a single person trying to manage all of this and keep up with everything just gets to be tough. So.
And then the tech coordinator would be employed by USD 420, but they would kind of be your between your company and the needs of our district.
Absolutely, and we talked earlier in the week, many times we have them up to our office, do several day training programs with them, and we'll help develop them, make sure they've got the necessary skills to, whether it's new devices coming in or new technology, we do that quite often as well. So we have a customer success team, so somebody on our team, and that person has monthly calls to go over all the history, all the detail. Welcome to join that if you'd like. To keep that ongoing project planning, what's the district planning, what's the budget cycles on certain technology. We're upgrading our student information systems, so we need to start planning for that. And on those monthly calls, we'll go through that process and help plan and manage that as well.
So off the get-go, do you go through everything that we have on site to see what's outdated that needs to be updated at that time, or, how does that work out?
Yeah, as part of our initial setup fee is we will touch every device. And so we'll come in and review all of that, see what, basically put in all the necessary things to get it kind of up to our standards. And then through that process, we'll see everything. We'll know whether we need to start planning on upgrading a set of laptops. It could be all kinds of things, we'll do, there's a whole onboarding team. So part of that discussion is this classroom over here, the wireless just doesn't work, we've had problems forever, knowing those sorts of things, so we can kind of come in and do that. What applications do you use, what are they integrated with? All of the account creation and those sorts of things goes through an automation process. So we take data out of your student information system, set up accounts so that they can log in, set them up on Google and kind of integrate with other systems. So all of that's part of an onboarding process, and we review. I don't have it in front of me, I think it's like a 10-page document of just questions that we start with and dig down into on that.
What's the time frame on that? Like, for instance, say we were to make a decision or whatever, how long does it take you for us to get on board?
So we would start pretty quickly, and obviously time is of the essence now, being in the summer. We have some existing projects, but probably mid-July is when we would look at being here. So as soon as we would have at least indication that you're interested in doing this, we would start some back channel work just because of the time of year. And then the whole onboarding implementation process for us is about 90 days. But part of that is just internal to our system, so we don't transfer people to kind of ongoing support, if you will, until we've made sure that
We're holding their hand until.
right, everything's working and stuff. And typically we like to get over the hump of back to school and all that, the busy time when all the stuff comes in. So that process ebbs and flows a little bit, but the good part in this case is we're leveraging your existing equipment, and that's been our biggest delay right now is just lead times on stuff. So we won't have that kind of roadblock here to get going.
Your 6 to 6 help desk, how do you handle after hours, extracurricular, debate on Saturday or a ball game on Friday night or?
School board meeting.
Yeah, school board meeting.
Live streams. There's if you call that number, there's a emergency on call. So our network team is on call 24/7, and they take emergency on call as well. So when that goes in, there's we use a program called PagerDuty, but there's a primary and a backup on call. So that gets put in. I actually get those, so any voicemail that gets recorded goes to my phone, and they know, my team knows if I haven't heard something in like 15 minutes, I'm texting people. But and I don't sleep.
You don't want that.
But it's on call. But if you call on and you say, I can't print in color, it's only black and white, we'll say we'll put a ticket in.
Right.
And do that tomorrow, but handles emergencies that way.
Hey, I'm thinking more like a band concert and
Yeah.
once our soundboard is out and nobody knows what.
Football season is always big, if you're live streaming football games or anything like that. A lot of times like that, we'll do extended Friday hours, especially early back to school
You call them
time.
Friday Night Lights.
Testing times.
Testing is a big time
Testing
as
today,
well.
make sure that everything's operational.
Yeah.
But that goes back to, your question goes back a little bit to the relationship that we have with our on-site tech coordinator. We need to be in, symbiotic relationship so that we can communicate back and forth.
So you know what's.
So we can do the heavy lifting on the back end and the configuration and the setup and security, all of that, and then execute by having them go and plug something in or do, put hands on something.
So when you talk about the on-site tech coordinator, is there any specific training or certificates that you expect them to have? Or can we just hire Snuffy off the street? Like, hey,
Snuffy, I haven't met him.
congrats.
He's a
You're-
legend in Osage.
Is there preferences like C+, this network, but like what are you looking for?
I mean, A+ type, if you're familiar with tech certs, A+ is generally, we want somebody that understands hardware skills and how things are connected, what a typical startup sequence can be, and honestly, in a lot of ways can follow instructions and problem solve a little bit. There's schools that we've had on-site tech coordinators that we work with. We have teachers that have been on stipends that we work with. We've had high school library media block time, is one of their classes, and we've worked with them. So, I think a little technical aptitude to be able to problem solve and just understand how things work. But like I said, we enjoy having them up to our office. We'll train them. We do that on a regular basis and can help develop them for you. But Snuffy might be
A stretch.
yeah, I might be down.
As far as current user accounts and stuff like that, is that fully integrated into your guys' new system, or would everyone have to get brand new logins and network logins and all that stuff?
Yeah, most of the time, it's not new network logins. Where we do see that is if there's been somebody hand entering stuff and it's 72 different formats over the years and stuff. We automate all that, so we really work to line those up and go through that process. But anytime we do that, if we have to rename, there's an alias, and then you still have all your old documents in email and that sort of stuff. Sometimes there's a little bit of conversion. It all depends on what's been done before. But I heard some talk about first dot last name at something, so I think we're probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you
that when
guys
you
had
were
any
having-
cyber attacks, ransomware? Have you had any attacks that have hit your system and caused any problems?
Not our clients.
I mean, individually, somebody clicks on something and it's got a bad message. And when I was talking about the cybersecurity drill or plan on the wall, that's something I really promote. Because almost always they leave the computer not connected to the network and go down and ask the 72, what should I do with this? You know, they call us in, oh, well, it started doing that yesterday. Shut down, take it off the network, and so education is important.
Phishing, you do some phishing, what do I always say? Simulated phishing for them, so you can.
We have a partner for that, that does that. Most insurance companies are requiring you to do that nowadays too.
I like to tell people all the time that, usually Brad's not sitting in here, but I tell them I'm having this conversation that if you ask, it came up in a town hall meeting that he was hosting a few months back, and somebody asked him, Brad, what is it, he doesn't sleep anyway, but what is it that keeps you up at night? And he emphatically said, security. Protecting the network and our customers is paramount. Once you ask us to partner with you, the risk shifts to us to make sure that you guys are safe.
I think I really said salespeople clicking on emails, but.
Well, that too.
You know.
That was
Keeps me up at night.
I've been in the remediation thing a couple times.
Yeah, it's tough, for us, I think that what you join is an ecosystem when you're working with us of kind of best practices, and so we've added up just under $500,000 a year in cybersecurity spend across all of our customers without an increase really. Now, as contracts renew, there's a slight increase to that obviously, but we take that because it's critically important to you, it's critically important to us. And so for us, we stay on the front side of that. We have a director of cybersecurity who his whole job was doing pen testing, if you're familiar with that, but basically trying to hack networks. He worked for a company called Fullfire. He worked on projects hacking Microsoft, Cisco, Google, large hospital systems and all that. And he scares the living daylights out of me with some of the stuff he talks about. But I think, like anything else, having a really robust cybersecurity program doesn't mean nothing will ever happen, right? But what it does mean is it's a lot harder and you have a lot more opportunity to catch something that might go wrong way in advance. And most of the time, unless it's a nation state actor that's just really targeting something, you can stay ahead of it.
And you have the ability to isolate school by school, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, and that's that's the other part of our data center and backup and hourly replication. We have some customers that we literally just host their data for, and true story, they got hit by a ransomware on a paper cut vulnerability. So I don't know if you use paper cut on your copiers, but so there was a paper cut vulnerability. It was 3 months old, and they got hit. All of our customers, we patched it within 2 days of the notification. But we host their data, and even though they got hit by ransomware and backdoor, within an hour we had their whole server restored and back to what it was, completely operational. About a year and a half ago, around Christmas, there was a Log4j, if you're technical familiar, but it pretty much affected every web server on the internet. Nobody knew what the impact was going to be. We actually took all of our customers offline, off the internet for 2 days. It was Christmas time, so we were able to do that, but we took the aggressive stance of taking them offline until we could fully assess the situation and then bring them back up slowly. So we don't really mess around. We would rather say we're sorry for the inconvenience rather than sorry, we lost everything.
Okay, I've got a list of questions, I've just been sitting patiently, you guys have like crossed off some of the questions, so this is working great. Okay, so how did you guys get approved or recommended by KASB? What did you have to go through to do that?
We've been a partner for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's been a long time. I think most of it is they talk to our customers. But that a lot of their vetting was with our existing customers, asking, did we live up to our promises? How was the service? All those sorts of things. I think we met with them probably no less than 5 or 6 times. Right now, we're actually have been ongoing talking to them about taking over their technology management as well. But we've just had a long, ongoing, really good relationship with them.
Okay, so it wasn't a process you had to go through as far as, hey, we had to submit certain documentation to them or prove anything out. It was them talking to maybe references?
Yeah, we did a portfolio of stuff. I don't remember exactly what was in that. They didn't have any specific application process though that we filled out their paperwork on.
What do you guys do for monitoring of like student traffic? So if they're using certain words that maybe they shouldn't be using, or they're accessing things that they shouldn't be accessing, what kind of monitoring do you have in place, or do you have anything in place?
Yeah, it's great. So in the proposal, we have a web filter embedded in that. So the cost of doing so, then the manage of it, we use a product called Securely to manage that. And so particularly with inappropriate websites or something like that get flagged, those will get caught and going through the onboarding process and working with your staff, there can be certain alerts sent to principals or whatever set up through that system. That's included in a proposal. Securely has a additional add-on product that's it's relatively affordable that they call Securely 24, which will do self-harm monitoring and all those sorts of things, and it's monitored by a live person. So it's one of those products that will trigger alerts, they'll actually look through it, and then the district can give them a list of contacts, could be law enforcement as well, if you decide to go down that path, that they will call on that. And then the good part is it's one integrated product, so the web searching and the Google history and all that, if you choose to go that route, that's all included.
So the Securely 24, I don't remember what you called it, that's additional
Correct.
price though?
For the self-harm monitoring is an additional
Right.
cost, so.
Okay, maybe a tricky question for you. What are the reasons you've received from other districts for why they didn't select you? Besides dollars?
That's a great question.
My initial response would probably be comfort, the way they've always done it. And so, somebody being remote and different than the body of somebody here, that's primarily it, I would say. Sometimes it just kind of depends if there's a tech candidate and you just get lucky and that works out great too, then the district will choose to go that route. But a lot of times it's a change in model, and sometimes that can be change and scary in certain cases.
And how many districts have left K-12 ITC, like after they've had your services?
I think all told 6, maybe?
Yeah, we have not over 90% retention. I think maybe 6 out of
Yeah, 6.
105 schools strong today.
Yeah, and I'll be wrong. I mean, typically where we see a divergence with that is maybe the district would hire a tech coordinator that wants to run the show, and it turns into a little bit of, I want to do it this way or I want to do it that way, and that's typically our biggest challenge as a company. Anytime we have a good partnership and we kind of have our separation of duties and roles, it works really well, but every one I could think of was that scenario.
Okay, last one that I have, sorry guys. So from an external assessment perspective, is that something that you guys share? So I don't know if you do like a NIST assessment or a SOC 2 report, anything like that that you're willing to share with us?
We're going through that process now in review for more. We have more detailed, security assessments that we don't share just in
Right.
terms of internal infrastructure and stuff, but we're going through kind of industry standard stuff now and with the intent of being able to do so.
Okay, so you don't have one yet?
I don't have one right this second.
All right, thank you.
Great questions.
Yep.
Love it.
And I love talking, a lot of people don't know those terms, so it's.
Sock and
I told you they'd be informed.
You've got some, you've got some, yeah,
I told them, I warned them.
yeah.
So.
I would say, would you think in general that, in this, like you said, it's kind of a new industry, you've kind of tackled on this new, it's kind of probably just the beginning, so I'm assuming, I'm not saying because we should go and look at all the eight, but is this a growing industry in general of having these kind of services for schools?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think.
I'm just curious, yeah, I would think it is.
Yeah,
It just seems very similar to what we deal with in the corporate world, and you don't see many of those similarities in education is what I'm finding, so this isn't shocking to have something like this.
It's tough. I mean, Google's running a commercial right now that there's 750,000 open cybersecurity jobs or whatever, it's tough.
Yeah,
And it's not getting easier, and I think that's what we find with a lot of our school customers, is it's just hard to, and I've been doing this 25 years, I was tech director, and then it was a handful of things, you knew how to basically plug the cable in, it got you onto the internet, and maybe there's a Microsoft Office, and that's what people were using, And so it's just evolved to the point where complexities of it, and then to hire talent, retain talent, train talent,
keep telling.
keep talent, all those sorts of things are challenging, and really trying to do a program that's not disjointed in many different ways, Some companies have this hosting or that hosting, and your stuff's spread out all over the place, and new person comes in and they have a completely different view of how they want to run things, and so I think, I mentioned earlier, consistency and stability is what a lot of we hear from our customers too.
I agree.
Anybody have any other questions?
Hey, Mr. Hassan,
Yeah.
we didn't see the estimated cost. What is the estimated cost?
What they proposed, 97, just over 97,000
And that is for
for the year, for a 5-year.
5 years?
Yeah. All right.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Guys, appreciate it.
Hope we weren't too far of a drive, so that's good.
No, there's more questions, how to get a hold of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be in
we'll work
touch,
with that.
guys, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Doesn't. All right, professional development notice.
So this is the annual notice for expenditures and things that the PDC committee puts together. Dennis puts that together and gets it to Patty, and so the board just needs to approve this for expenditures related to professional development. Again, this is an annual notice that the board takes action on. So.
Yes, I motion that we approve the expenditure for professional development as presented.
Can we correct it? I don't know who our true rep is right now on
It's Dennis.
PDC.
Dennis
No,
is
for the board. They've got me on there, and that
Oh.
was years ago, and
We went back to the minutes and you were on there.
am I? Okay, thank you. I
'Cause
didn't remember
I didn't know
that.
either.
Yeah, okay, good enough. One of those nights, right?
It's probably one of those,
I
we were
must not have
freezing
been at
out,
that
yeah.
meeting.
No, you were, I remember.
All right.
All right,
Second.
thanks. I didn't want to say it.
Williams.
Aye.
Bellinger.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye. All right, we have a couple of MOUs with Three Lakes.
So the first one is the preschool MOU. We took action on this earlier this school year. Basically this, if the ratio of non-identified students is greater than 50% of the classroom, then the district will be responsible for the proration of the teacher salary for it being over 50%. I don't know that we got there this year. Might have one kid maybe, so that's typical. In the past 3 years, that's been kind of typical where that number's been around. So the goal is not to go over 50%, but if we do, Three Lakes will be in contact with us, and then we can cut it off at whatever point they have a ratio excessive. But this just says we would cover a portion of the prorated salary if we were to go over 50% of non-identified students in one of their classrooms. And we took action on this earlier. This is just for next school year.
Okay. Oh, do we need to do that?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just signing
We
it.
already talked about it.
Sorry, yep, we talked about it. All right, I move that we accept the MOU for the preschool proration of salary.
Second.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Peterson.
Really, my signature doesn't replace a full board vote. Sorry, everyone. I apologize. I will sign after the board vote next time. All right, and the ECAN?
ECAN is Head Start services that Three Lakes partners with. So this again is another annual. I don't know that you technically have to take action, but since it is an MOU, I just kind of do that so the board's aware of those things. But it's to continue services with Head Start through Three Lakes and our school district being a part of that. So that's what that MOU is. And I just sign it. It doesn't. The board president doesn't have to sign it.
Oh, okay, well, I was ready. I've been ready. All right, I move we accept the MOU with ECAN.
Second.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Lunch fee donation.
So the district received from the Sharon Hoover Memorial Fund the donation of $1,875 to use towards families who are struggling to pay lunch fees. That we've seen kind of some districts doing this, and this family was kind enough to do that. We will set up procedures at the district office for that. We're not going to let somebody use it over and over. It'll be a one-time use fee based on so much. We haven't got there yet, but we will have that ready by the time school starts, the procedure to do that. But a certain amount, we'll set that, and we'll look at some other districts of what they have. But so we'll set those procedures up through the district office, but we just need to accept this donation to be used towards assistance with lunch fees.
I move that we accept the donation from the Sharon Hoover Memorial of $1,875 for the district to use to help with lunch fees.
Second.
Peterson.
Aye.
Parsons.
Aye.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Linton.
Aye.
And milk bids, my favorite
One of the-
topic every
Yeah,
year.
Annual bid. So you see there's 3 different bids from 2 different companies, but EVCO and then Highland with the drop ship, just like EVCO would do, or Highland full service. And you see the amounts. Tonight I'm recommending EVCO based on their quote that they provided of $30,690 plus a surcharge of $43.50 for them to provide milk for the upcoming school year.
Does EVCO, what brand of, is there a brand that they
I can't remember what it is.
have?
I've seen it. I can't remember what it is, of course.
It's Highland.
Well, I
It
mean,
might be, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
making it.
have we had it?
We've used Evco for probably the last 2 years.
I kind of wondered because of their,
I can't think of what it's called though, Sydney.
We have to get 1%, is the highest we can go. If they are out of stock on 1%, they can replace that with a 2% on that one delivery, but 1% is how they place their bid on those.
Yeah, I thought we had been with EVCO
The
last couple.
the last 2 years, Evco.
I knew we had switched. Maybe that was my first year. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions on the milk bid?
I think it's interesting, their
most expensive on orange juice. But they're cheap on milk.
And then we go through more milk than orange juice.
Chocolate milk's the biggest.
Quite a bit bigger, that's funny. All right,
KSD or USDA would like to take chocolate milk away from schools. That's on the table right now, so.
Yeah, I heard that.
it's 80, and it's 80% of our.
Yeah.
All right, I move that do I have to, is this,
Yes.
we have to do the action on this one, oh, sorry, yes. I move that you continue to use EPCO as our milk provider for the 23-24 school year.
Second.
Bowen,
Aye.
Williams. Peterson. Heppenstall.
Aye.
Linton,
Aye.
Bellinger,
Aye.
Parsons.
All right. Lunch.
All right, meal prices for the next school year. Looking at our food service fund, it's very healthy, has been healthy for a few years now. We feel like with where we're at with the food service fund, we can keep meal prices the same as we had them this previous year. So that would be, breakfast for all students will be $2, lunch for K-5 is $3, lunch for 6 through 8 is $3.10, lunch for 9 through 12 is $3.20, and adult breakfast will be $2.60, with lunch being $4.75 for adults. So we feel like we're in a good place to keep the prices level. So we're recommending keeping the prices the same.
I have a question on
Yeah.
this. I mean, I don't mind paying more, but I expect the kids to get more.
But there's only so much we can do, I mean,
Correct.
based on federal guidelines for it to be a reimbursable meal. If we give more or do whatever, we can't get reimbursed for that meal.
Okay.
So we're following the guidelines as amounts of proportion. We've increased, added a second entree, which has helped tremendously
Okay.
with, that option to do that. But we're trying to address it best we can to stay within the guidelines, because we can only serve so much for it to be reimbursed as a meal. And if we had a person show up and we're giving too much, they'll say not reimbursable, and it'll be all on us.
Okay.
Because every meal needs to be reimbursable through the federal government.
We bring in about 30 to 35,000 a month in reimbursements, and we could lose that if we didn't abide by the guidelines.
Is that why the adult is more than the
Yes, they're
nine
non-reimbursable.
through 12?
So got it.
So we're trying to find ways to help with that, Tyler, but to stay within the regulations, so.
Okay. Now, is there a second meal, or leftovers? I mean, how is that with?
We have some à la carte items we're trying to get going that, be left over from the day before that would still be,
Okay.
Could be consumable, and to provide those for kids, but it'd be an additional cost to those kids.
Yeah, I was
So,
just wondering if
again,
that
we're
needed to
looking.
be added.
Yeah, we're looking for those things to do that through the wellness committee and to provide that, because we're hearing, from the amount of food that's being out there. Yeah, I get it, then they go to practice and don't eat,
A student could get a second meal, but it'd be like for high school, $3.20 for the first meal and then $4.75 for the second meal in the same day.
Because it's not reimbursable.
Yeah.
So it'd be like an adult, got it.
Yeah.
So is the difference between the K-5 and the 9-12, is that just purely portion size?
Yeah, you go from maybe a fourth a cup of fruit for an elementary to a half a cup of fruit for your high school and middle school. A corn dog's a corn dog, so everyone's gonna get the same size corn dog. But sometimes you'll see maybe a corn dog for the 6 through 12, she'll put in string cheese. So they get an additional string cheese to meet their requirements.
And check this paper too every day. But yeah, okay. So no action needed if we all agree to just leave it the same?
Well,
Or what is,
I would still like a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, never mind.
I was thinking a different way
Okay.
when I wrote that, so.
I move that meal prices for 23-24 be set as the same as last year, as presented.
Second.
Linton,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.
Bellinger. Parsons.
Aye.
Bowen.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right. Lots of information now.
Yeah. All right, policy updates. KSB provides biannual updates for districts to consider for updating policies, district policies. What I provided for you, the short version and the long version of what that would look like. We're not taking action tonight. Tonight is just for information. If you have questions and during this time that you have them to do that. But I want to highlight a few. Some of these are being updated because of updated state laws that are going into effect, like the closing of a building. The legislature took action on that to go through a certain procedure. So the language that will be adopted is in line with that the state legislation updated this past legislative session. Again, ESI, emergency safety interventions, just some language that's to be in compliance with the state regulation. Those others, if you look at those next three, are just more compliance with the federal law, with the military leave, and then the reduction in teaching staff just really kind of lines up with the local agreement that you have and procedures that go in there. The new one, as you see at the bottom of that first page of the short version, which is overnight accommodations, that's a new policy that we'll present to the board. This is, again, comes with legislative law that was put in place. Will be effective July 1 of 2023. And basically the accommodation is that based on your gender, you will only room with your gender that you were born with. That's what the policy states. And you can see that in the revision that's provided for you to do that. So that'll be a new policy. But that is, again, state law based on legislation. Then these next two, JBC and JBCC, which deals with enrollment and enrollment of non-resident students. We probably won't take action on these next month because we'll have to do some legwork with this. From this law that's been put in place, basically it goes to open enrollment. And any kid can go to any school, no matter what their residence is, but the districts have the ability to set parameters of what that is. Like, student-teacher ratio, specifically at the elementary or K through 8. We're gonna, if we get to this 20-to-1 ratio, 15-to-1, whatever the board decides to set that, we don't have to take non-resident students if we're at that point. But if we have space, then we have to go through this process of a lottery of people who have requested to come to the district and go through a process to do that. And it's a little harder at the high school because it's not, grade level class sizes. And so I'll bring recommendations for that. And Greenbush and KSB are working with districts to start creating some of that language that we can go through. But this doesn't have to be in place until the 1st of January of 2024. So we have a little bit of time, but KSB is just getting us geared up for that. And some of that general language is there. But we as a district will have to pick what that ratio is. And we could set some also, if they're not in good standing, if they have some issues, to put that into consideration for them to become which we're doing now, but we do have to have a cap on that, what that number is by policy. Children of employees that are non-residents will not be factored into that ratio. They will automatically get to bring their kids if they don't live in district, but they bring their kids here, they're not factored into that ratio. So that was changed before the law was approved. So I don't know that we'll take action on that next month, but I'll start sharing information with you as we go through this and get more guidance from KSB and Greenbush. And we'll have to have a hearing on that. And in front, as part of a board meeting to give people time to ask questions and do that before we actually take action on that. So that would be JBC, which is enrollment, and JBCC, and that's a new policy, which is enrollment of non-resident students. And so it's basically open enrollment starting January 1 of next year.
And I'm assuming like all this policy wording that KSB put in here is they're recommending for all locations.
Yeah, that's what they're putting out there, but we'll have to do some things that will be specific to our district, as the ratios, size, capacity, and things of that nature. So we'll be working on that, but have that in place before January 1. We have to have it in place by then. Any questions on that policy?
Mr. Hassan,
Yes.
how will that affect special education?
It's not.
It won't.
It's open enrollment, open. That can't be a factor in it. Could be considered discrimination if we do that.
And I knew that, but so all of the special education kids at Burlingame could come down here if they wanted to.
If we have room for them.
Got it, okay.
But it all depends on what that number is that we have set.
So it's not discrimination once we've determined
Yeah,
those
right.
caps.
If we're for full, we don't have to take.
Got it.
An identified
hit
student
that.
or a non-identified student, yeah.
Okay,
And so can it be just something like a classification, say, we don't wanna go up classification.
Yeah, I mean,
So we could just basically set that to a parameter and that's it.
that
That's
could be,
where we're at.
I mean, that's gonna be hard to do, but I hear what you're saying, what that cap is for the 9-12 part of that and how we determine that, but I think we can work through that and have good discussions as we go through that, so.
Okay.
Something
That's good.
definitely consider.
Okay.
So, but we don't, it's just, we only have so much room, and so we have to identify what that room is.
Okay.
But that doesn't affect people that live within the district. If you
No.
live within the district, you are here.
Yeah,
You
you
enroll,
get to come.
regardless if we're over by 1 or
Yeah.
5 or 10.
Right, if you reside in the district, you can
If
come
you're
here.
out of district and you apply to
that's
come
when this
in,
applies, yeah.
that's where the.
Then you go into a pool, a lottery, basically, depending on how many spots are available, and then you get drawn out of a hat, basically.
So like, for instance, what if you have, I mean, this is going out on a limb, but you have 4 or 5 kids that you allow to come in, they only stay for a half a semester or whatever, then do we go out to that lottery and tell them other kids that now they can come to our school
I don't know
throughout
that,
the year?
I don't know that after September 20th, if we can do anything different, Tyler, I don't know, that's a good question.
We have a
kinda.
waiting list.
Yeah, you go back to the waiting list, yeah, in the middle of the year, I don't know if we can set a date, like, you have to be enrolled by this date or whatever,
Or we're just
gonna not take any other kids, or,
Would that include like remote? Like,
I don't know that,
if they want to enroll as a remote student, essentially,
yeah,
would
we're,
we be able to take them
yeah,
if they're over? I mean,
we're very limited, that's a good question,
Part of the discussion.
yeah, so I don't know that, but we're not allowing very many remotes.
And we're, of course, having the principals and your recommendations for
Right.
class size and where we need to lower or increase,
Yeah, we'll have to work through them,
I mean, I would imagine when you guys set your classroom sizes, you have an idea of how many kids can be in a classroom at one time, with.
but you as a board too have to kind of, what is that management part of that, of what is a good student-teacher ratio in the classroom, and they can give you that, but you guys have to decide what that capacity,
Right.
and what our capacity is too, because we only have so much room.
So it's kind of off what she said, but for instance, what if a class has 14 IEPs out of 18 kids and we don't have the help for all those IEPs? Then where do we go? How does that work?
That we couldn't discriminate, basically, if we pull them out of the lottery and they're identified and we have the space,
Well,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
saying somebody,
but a non-resident student, we'd have to,
They just be part of the light, yeah.
the co-op would have to figure that
I was
out
gonna
to
say, then we
provide
go to
support.
the, that's what I was,
and it'd be something that might have to change throughout the year.
It could, we could readdress it every year, it's policy that the board could readdress if we feel like we're getting too many, or, wherever that goes.
Do we have an issue right now with that? Too many kids wanting to come to school here?
The principals do a good job of vetting those kids. I tell them we don't want other people's problems, other districts' problems, so, they check attendance, discipline, and grades, thank you. I can't ever remember the third one sometimes, but, so they check those and, talk to the other schools and see where they're at, so if they're in good standing, we might take them, we might not, it's just but by law, when this goes into effect, if we have room, we have to go to that lottery and take, it's not just first come, first serve, you're just put into a hat, and then if your name's drawn out, you get to come here.
But we're still able to apply some of those standards.
Yes, I think so, that's something that's been talked about, but I think that's a little wonky in the language of the law, but I think we still have the discretion to do that, because again, we don't want other people's problems that are non-resident.
there's a lot of.
Correct. I just see it as a staffing nightmare, but that would just, yeah, that's what would worry me, about getting somebody else's problems.
So we'll work on those as we go through, but, again, we don't have to have that into, the policy into effect till January 1 of 2024, so. So the next few are just some, again, updates. The administration of emergency opioid antagonists, we've already done this, but now KSB has created a policy, so we're in line with that. We've already done that this school year, so. The next one, junior high student activities. This would reflect that homeschool and part-time students could participate in activities if they reside in the district and they're homeschooled or non-resident. So that's been passed into law as well. So.
Really?
Yep. So they would have the opportunity to participate, and we would have to take the word that they're in good standing from, they have to be a recognized homeschool. They've had to apply or notify the State Board of Ed that they're a homeschool, and they have to be on the list. But they as the homeschool determine if someone's in good standing. Now, where Keisha comes in for good standing, that's what we're waiting to hear. They might have some different standards to prove to that, because typically you got to pass 5 classes and to be eligible and things of that nature. How can we verify that in a homeschool situation? And can Keisha override that to participate in the Keisha activities? Have you guys heard anything about that, Tim, Josh, or anything? So I don't know where Keisha's gonna, and that you can read that in the language where depending on what Keisha says kind of thing.
Okay.
But otherwise we'd have to, they can,
I think Keisha
They can
says
go out.
Kansas High School Associate, never mind. It's not Kansas High School and Homeschool Association.
yes,
Sounds like it's gonna be, that could be a problem. I
could
mean,
be,
it
it
just
depends,
sounds-
yeah.
I would hope not,
They would
but
be allowed to go out for sports. So as a
non-student.
homeschool, part-time student to do that. So, but that's been put into law as well, so. The next is disposable of district property, KK. So they've got, basically you have to, if you're gonna close a building and sell it or get rid of a school building, you can't just do it and be okay with it. The legislation has to approve you to be able to do that as a school district. So you have to have one more step and get their approval to sell a building.
good news is we're attached as one.
Yeah, so, but if you were to close a building, you'd have to go through a process,
If
and
we
if you
close
were,
the bus barn, for example,
yes, I don't know about that, I don't know if it's an attendance center, I don't know, but.
Well, it might play into our plan, like if we decided to get rid of the BOAG building and just then
Yeah.
wipe it out. And
but we're not selling it, we're keeping the property.
Yeah, but
That's
if
why
you were to
I'm-
close a building, that's where there's that law, I think it was previous, there's a process you have to go through and again to get legislative approval, and then if you wanna sell that building, you have to get legislative approval to do that as well, so.
Sounds like
And
they have
then
more things they need to worry about.
KN complaints, that's just updated language that they updated. And the last one's just a form that they provided for the opioid overdose form that you would fill out if we were to administer that, so. So if you have questions or thoughts, I'll be sharing more information with this before next board meeting, and looking at that, but if you have thoughts or questions, let me know and we'll look to address that next month.
Thank you. Kat has a lot of reading to do. That's what I know.
Can I ask one follow-up question?
Yes.
Kind of going back to the JBCC one?
Yeah,
How many students do we have on average that are out of district?
I don't know what that percent, I meant to look that up one time and
I
didn't,
think last year we had probably between 70 and 75.
Percent?
No,
Students.
so it'd be about 10%,
That's not right at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
so almost 8 to 10%.
Is that a yearly average that, like, coming from out of district?
Probably pretty close.
they tend to stay pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that would typically, I'm assuming, be like the Reading,
Yeah,
Miller,
North Line County is the
North
portion of it.
And parents, kids count in that, like?
Yeah.
oh, and then parent, okay, got it. It's teacher, staff's kids, yep.
Teachers, kids,
Okay.
sorry.
Parents' kids,
Parents'
yes,
kids,
parents have,
obviously.
yeah, usually, if they're a parent,
Teachers'
kids.
kids.
yeah.
That's a good question. All right. anything else on all those fun topics? You're up, Todd.
All right, we had a really quick meeting the other night. We approved the calendar for 23-24. We approved KASB work comp contract. And that, we had apparently a lot of claims because our price on that almost tripled for us at Three Lakes, which is, it's not one of those numbers that scares you to death, but it going up triple was significant. We also did the motions on the ECAN MOU and pre-K MOUs for West Franklin and Burlingame. And that was really pretty much it. Had an executive session that was short, and it was Michelle's last meeting. I never can say her name. Luxa. So it was her last meeting as the assistant director over there. She's retiring, and
I thought she said she had one more year.
have another one coming in, I guess next month at the meeting. No, that's it.
All right, building reports.
So I shared some, I didn't ask the principals, I mean, Tina sent one to you guys, so you have that. She gave some good data information for you guys to look at. And then Mrs. Key provided her annual counseling report, so I included that in as a building report, as well as Ms. Creasthall provided the nurses end of the year report for you guys to have information for you. So. Any questions on those?
I like the direction all the little graphs.
I know, I do too.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Buddy the Elf's
Oh, yeah.
hat, and then it's like, it just keeps getting greener. Yay.
Have we ever seen, because I was looking at Darcy's report, have we ever seen any comparison from year to year? Does the board remember ever seeing something like that? 'Cause I was amazed.
Yeah, I don't know that's ever been presented to you, but I know
She
she
presented
shared.
it last year, I
Oh, she did?
remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She,
We'll say
she
it.
does.
Every year.
I don't know if she does a comparison.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think
sure she
it's,
probably could pull it up in just seconds, but yeah.
Yeah, because I'm always amazed at the number of like interactions and different things that she's involved with, but I can never remember the previous, like, is it, is it increasing, is it consistent?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's increasing.
That's my assumption too. Yeah, this is all good information.
Good.
All right. Any other, before we get to Mr. Hessong's report? Take it away.
Okay, access control, they've got all the final equipment in, so hopefully they'll be done within the next week or two of getting that complete install. They're getting that finalized. Had to wait on some parts. I'm not sure what parts they were, but to finalize that. So they're in, and so they're getting that done. Hopefully if it's not this week, next week, hopefully it'll be completely done. We have training scheduled for June 27th, which will basically it'd be Patty and I and Pam. And depending on where we're at with the tech, if that person's involved, we can get them involved to do that. But we'll run all key cards through the district office and all the management of that. Pam will be in charge of that with my support, and Patty kind of back up just in case. So, but we'll do that training on the 27th to get that going. So we hope to be ready enough when all the teachers and everybody return and do that. So track respray, they've started today, brought their equipment yesterday, and they're out there working on it today. So if you see the football lights on, that's what's going on out there. They might be working late, so they're thinking they could have it resprayed by the end of the week, maybe. 4 to 5 days, just depending on how things work with weather and that. And then it'll take a couple days to do the painting, repainting of that. So hopefully in a couple weeks, that'll be completed and we can have that up and going and ready to go. That again, just extends the life of the track. 8 to 10 years is what we're being told. So hopefully that'll be done in a couple weeks to do that. So
Some sign out there that tells like the walkers.
yeah, Dan's got signs up and we got it locked down as best we can. Just says that it'll be closed.
Everywhere too.
Do they? Okay.
It'll be pretty obvious because they have the whole front fence lined with white.
Oh, do they? I haven't been out there.
So,
Oh, really? I haven't been.
yeah, it's kind of interesting to see.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to ask, are they doing the pole vault runways and?
Yeah, that's part of everything. Yeah, all that, that's part of that. Yeah. those spaces are included in that, so, yes.
What's the cure time on that? So how long until they can get back on it?
I think it's not very long, depending on weather, I think, but they said it'd be about a 2-week process. I don't know what painting does, but I will find that out. Community digital sign coming into town. One side doesn't work and one's got a panel out, so they've gotten a committee together to evaluate replacing that and updating it more than anything with a replacement to do that. So they have some bids and they're looking to write a community foundation grant to do that, but they're I guess what I'm asking for, my understanding when this happened 11 years ago, that the district made a donation of $3,000, but that included to allow the district to put all the activities and different things. And Andy,
You guys would know. Yeah.
Andy was in charge of. He had the capability. He had to go to the fire station to update those things. It was kind of cumbersome to do it that way. This new system can be done from any desktop,
Thank
so it'd be a
goodness.
wireless. So we'd still to do that. I'm not asking for like we're going to take action, but just is the board interested in helping support that and
Yes.
being a part of that? I've been to the meetings. I'm included in that. So
Is that a community, group that's doing that?
yeah, so the chamber's involved. Casey Masato, Jeanette.
You could do
The chamber and
Yeah, they're involved.
I
So
think
the
you just said
city is a
chamber.
part of that
City.
conversation. So. They're trying to finalize how much to ask based on what the quote is. We have a meeting tomorrow to get more details about what the quotes are. So really, we don't want to have the same situation that we had with what's currently out there. So they want to meet with the person that provide that quote. So I'll come back with more detail, but they're asking basically if we would be committed to helping out in some way, shape, or form, and I assumed we would, but I wanted to kind of get that consensus before I went to the meeting tomorrow. Okay. Just a heads up, NutriSlice is an online menuing program we're gonna go to next school year. Basically, it's a digital menu for lunch and breakfast. You can see ingredients, you can see, what's the word on?
Oh, if you're allergic to milk,
Yeah.
eggs, gluten-free.
Calories. I mean, it'll be very specific to do that. It's easily changed. It'll be, if Betsy makes a change, it'll be up there. You can get notifications through the app that there's been a change. So it's just an online menuing system that we'll have that'll be available for families to see and do that. So, but we can have, all the components of that and make it available and
So it'll still be out there on the website like
Yeah.
it is right now, where we can, I know my kids go out there like every morning.
yeah.
What's on the menu?
Right.
So that'll still
It'll be a
exist.
button on there that just says NutriSlice menus or whatever or something.
And if they have a phone, you can put the app on and they can look on their phone.
Yeah, they can look on the phone all the time. So we're working on that and hope we'll have that ready
connect to
to
other
start.
schools and get jealous. Like,
Yeah.
what's the school doing?
Yeah,
Ours is better.
so we'll have that up and going at the beginning of the school year to do that. So last week met with an architect to give us some ideas about the high school locker rooms and updating them. I've asked for a basic update of what that could look or a complete remodel and kind of what that cost would be if we looked at that. Those walls that make up the locker room are not support walls. They're all just go above the ceiling tile, so that we could move those walls and do different things and look to, main thing we want to do is update, lockers are pretty the girls are pretty nice, so they're in good shape compared to the boys, but we need a ceiling tile, something different in there because they're getting torn up all the time, so we need a different idea for that. We need new plumbing fixtures in there, those all need to be updated. I mean, it just hasn't been touched for a long time, so it needs some TLC. So I've asked for a basic update, which would be locker rooms, the ceiling tile, not necessarily move a lot of structure, and then a complete revamp, which would include a better showering system, because not very many kids shower anymore, but still have the opportunity for more privacy compared to what's in there now. Looking at a training room that a trainer could come in and have all the supplies and get, instead of doing it out on the bleachers like they do when he shows up once a week. But have a space for that, but also a space so we can put officials during ball games instead of running them clear to the elementary office or different things, that they could just go right off there. So the teachers have been involved, admin, AD, and giving those ideas, so, we're gonna have an architect give us some ideas of what that could be for the board to review.
My question.
Yes.
I was pretending I was
No.
in school. When we get the architect's proposal that you all agree to, can we do a quick tour? I'm just,
Yeah.
Stephen know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've heard that they're terrible. I just have personally never been in them, and it would help me give some context while making the decision.
Yep.
Because it sounds like I would probably be in favor
Yeah.
based on what I've heard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so we can
But
do that.
I think it might,
Time, I'll give you a tour.
Yeah. But we can go down there too, yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to. I mean, if all of you guys have seen them, I don't know, I just think it'd be helpful.
It's been a while. Yeah. So, but we'll have some ideas on that in the near future.
You're just talking about the ones at the gym, not the ones out at the.
Yeah, no, just here at off Homewood there, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have that. And also gonna get some ideas for different type of flooring in the cafeteria. We're starting to see some of that break and different things, so see what that would cost us to do something different in there for a floor.
That was my fault for the laugh.
Talked about budget closeout. We're gonna do that on the 26th of this month. So we'll have that ready to finish off and be ready for the budget cycle. We're going to budget training
23rd?
23rd of July, June.
June, I hope the closeout's the 26th, so
Well, that's
hope you train.
for next year's budget.
Oh, next,
22nd.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So we're doing that, to get ready for next year's budget. I talked about the bus and the vehicle, we received those, and then we had an admin retreat last week, met with the principals, we went up to Greenbush and kinda got away, and they did some presentations, but it was a good opportunity to kinda close out the year. We talked about what went well, what didn't go so well, what could we do differently, and had good conversations about that. And then we just started getting prepared for the PD days when we come back and have an initial plan going, gotta finalize some things, but it was a good retreat and good opportunity, just kind of it was so busy at the end of the year, we really didn't have the opportunity to get together and do that, so, but I think it went pretty well, so got us ready and going for next year, so kind of closed out the year and getting ready for next year, so. That's all I have.
All right. I move we go into executive session to discuss supplemental positions, certified positions, and classified positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under COMA, and the open meeting will resume the boardroom at 9 PM with the superintendent present.
Second.
Who's that, Tyler?
Yeah.
Parsons?
Aye.
Heppenstall?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Williams? Bowen?
Aye. Sorry. I was-
Litton?
Aye.
Bellinger?
Sorry, I did that to you.
I know, it's his fault. He doesn't make-
watching
I was too. I was like, I liked it. I think
Yeah.
he made it smaller.
You don't hear about
All right, we're back in open session. I move that we go back into executive session to discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception of employee.
Kelly, are you going to take any action on the personnel?
Oh, do I need to do that now? Yes, sorry. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Am I just
You can
doing
do it
this
either way.
I'll just do it.
Yeah.
I move that we accept the resignation of Marion Smith, middle school track head girls coach, Felix Nunez as the high school wrestling assistant, JT Crawford, high school assistant track coach, Tracy Watkins, high school assistant track coach. Recommend Carly Spicer as the middle school counselor, Kylie Lohmeyer as high school math, Darcy Keefe, high school girls assistant basketball coach, John, is it Petrie, as middle school assistant football coach.
And the supplemental list.
And approve the supplemental list as presented.
Second.
Heppenstall?
Aye.
Bowen?
Aye.
Linton?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Bellinger?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Parsons?
Aye.
Now I move that we go into executive session to discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9:15
Second.
with the superintendent present. Don't mess with this.
Williams?
Aye.
Bellinger?
Aye.
Parsons?
Aye.
Linton?
Oops, sorry. Aye.
Thanks, Corey.
Heppenstall? Peterson?
Aye.
Bowen?
Aye.
You guys are so funny.
What would she do if each of us answered?
Second.
All right, back in open session, no action. I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Bellinger,
I
Linton,
Aye.
Williams, Parsons,
Aye.
Bowen,
Aye.
Heppenstall.
Aye.